Now we will see the title as regards the boundary disputes. Now I presume the moment we say boundary disputes, the words of the title of law are actually self-explanatory, and it is very fascinating to know that boundary disputes even existed at that point of time. So let us see what are the boundary disputes, how they are to be resolved, what is to be done, what is not to be done. Let us see that. Marked by visible and invisible signs. Any boundary has to be marked in proper visible and invisible signs. So visible is something which can be easily seen, and invisible are those which cannot be seen. Then we have boundaries to be demarcated by major landmark like well, pools, large trees, temples. Now these were the landmarks in any kind of a village. A pool existed, a large tree existed, a temple existed. So those were to be used as landmarks for deciding the boundary. So a boundary could be demarcated saying that this side of temple belongs to this village. From this side of temple it belongs to the another village. It becomes easily a identifiable mark. So it was used. Marks above earth and below earth. Now there are some marks which are above earth which are visible, and there are some marks below earth which are invisible. So obviously we have to see as to what are those marks which are below earth and how they should be seen, or what kind of products should be put below earth so that they remain for a longer time. Number 1, dry cow dung. Dry cow dung remains for a large time beneath the earth, hence it should be used. Then we have bones, bones of animal. They should be kept below earth because they also exist for a long number of period. They don't get deteriorated. On the contrary, they are preserved when kept below the earth. Then charcoal. Charcoal has to be kept so that a boundary can be defined. Stones. The stones should be kept because a person may say that I have kept so and so stones here. You may find it because that is my boundary. So these are some things which are invisible and hence to be kept below earth. Then we have cows' tails. The tails of cows, those should be buried below earth as a mark for identifying a boundary. Cotton seeds. The cotton seeds should be sown below earth. They might grow small amount of plant and hence would become easier to demarcate a boundary. Then we have ashes. The ash has to be kept. It has to be thrown, it has to be kept in a proper manner to identify. Then we have all marks to be told by old generation to youth. Now this is actually passing the information. The grandfather passes to the father passes to his son. Because the young generation will not know these invisible marks which are below earth. So for them to understand, it is absolutely necessary that the information regarding the invisible boundaries should be communicated by one generation to another generation. Then we have in disputes regarding a house or field, decision of following would prevail. For example, there is a dispute regarding a house or a dispute regarding a field. Now, who should be the proper persons whose statements or whose witness should be a proper witness? That is being defined, and let us see who are them. Neighbor. A neighbor is a person who is aware as regards the boundary. Number one, because he wants to safeguard his own house and own field, so he will obviously demarcate a boundary in a proper manner. Then, inhabitant of village. The villagers in a particular village obviously have several discussions between them. So they know that which field belongs to whom and what is the distance of that field, what is the boundary mark of that field. All these things are known to them. Then we have member of same society. The same society means a group of people, because in a village there is a possibility that there are 5 groups which exist and they are staying in different places but in a group. So the members within the group obviously have the communication and understanding, because all these things are being discussed. Then we have elders. Elders should be considered in boundary. Now when we speak of this particular 4 aspect, or people who are good for knowing the boundary, we see that the people had tremendous interaction between each other, because all this information can be passed, can be known only when there is an interaction between people. So interaction or a community living at that point of time was given highest importance. That is because of the people wanted to stay together. They were sharing informations, they were telling each other, and that is why even other people knew as to which field, up to what extent, up to what mark is belonging to this particular person. Then we have things which should not be blocked. Now this is nothing but what we call today the easementary rights. Identical to our present day easementary rights, there were certain things, certain road, certain places which were not allowed to be blocked. Then we have how to show boundary. Now this is a method. This is a method as to how a boundary should be shown. Wearing red flowers and red cloak and putting earth on the head. So a red garland has to be put with a red cloth and a mud on the head. This is how a boundary was to be shown. Now when we see this particular topic, even today when the land department does a survey in any village, there is one man who runs with a long stick, and the stick has a red thing incorporated into that. So it's like a red flag, and the person runs throughout the particular area which is to be surveyed. So somewhere even the current land system or the superintendent of land records, the people who are responsible for doing survey, are actually to some extent following this particular aspects. Red garland, red cloak. Today we have a red flag, because he marks, he stands and he shows the red flag. There a circle is put saying that this is a start of a boundary. So when we see this particular boundary dispute, we will come to know that the various methods which are applied at that point of time and the various methods which are there in our present day are absolutely similar. And the other similarity is that one thing can be seen: people were disputing for the boundaries at that point of time, and today the countries are equally disputing for the boundaries within them.